Hey everybody, welcome back to the Board Game Specialist. I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And we are on episode 70, and today we are talking about the top 9 games better than sorry. Now before we get into the whole sorry game, Carla, what have you been playing lately?
I got to play a Kickstarter I just received, which was the Granja or Granja, maybe is the right pronunciation, collector's edition. So
Nice.
This is an older game, but they reprinted it in a really beautiful, functional, better way. And it was awesome. Played it a 3-player. Now this game, the best thing I think about this game is the multi-use cards. The cards can be used in 4 ways. So it's really neat because on your player board, you will, when you play a card, which you do every round, there's 6 rounds, you will either play it up top and slide it up like underneath the top of your board. And that would be used as it would be one of your markets that you are delivering to. You could slide it down the right side, and that would be a farm upgrade. So at the beginning, you were allowed 1 delivery, one extra delivery if you pay for it. I don't think you get income to start, but that could be an upgrade. You could upgrade a pen for another pig, and there's all kinds of things. If you put it on the bottom of your board, there's text in the middle of the card, and that is like a player power or like a once per round kind of thing, and that's kind of where you build your engine. So you can do 3 of those throughout the game. There's a card that actually allows you to have another one. So those are very important because they can change your whole game with the cards underneath. Now, if you slide it on the left side of your board, those are fields. So you would either have a wheat field, olive field, I guess it is, and grapes. And so those things can be upgraded into wine, bread, food, so on. Now, what you do besides playing a card is you're going to make deliveries, and we have these little donkey tiles that you'll choose after kind of blindly, and you put it face down, then everybody flips it over, and that shows how many deliveries you're going to make. And then you get to do those in player order or in turn order, and you can deliver to the ones on top of your board, or you can deliver to these markets that are on the main board. And those you want to kind of complete. As soon as you've completed the whole sequence of them, then you get to have an extra income. So there's all kinds of things going on. There's these roof tiles that you get that give you little bonuses, and then they give you points throughout the game. There's a little area control thing going on where it can get kind of mean because once you've delivered to a market, you'll put a little disc there. And if you had a 5 value market, anything that is lower than that, you will kick out. So that part can get a little bit feisty, but it adds some spice to the game. But it's just a really neat way of farming. Unlike the other games where you're just kind of building up, and then getting points. This one has like a different twist to it, but it was awesome, and I can't wait to play that one again.
That's so cool. I have that one.
Oh, do you?
Unplayed.
Yeah, it's good.
It's just so neat with the player board and the cutout where you slide the cards in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see the new version of it. But yeah, I think the original that's still sitting on my shelf of shame. That's one that I've watched a video tutorial. That's how far have I got. But it sounds great.
It's good. It's good. And then this one comes with a bunch of expansions, which we tried 3 of them, and they were actually quite awesome and easy to add in. And then there's a couple more or whatever, but it's good. You'll like the game. Even the old game was awesome. But of course, I like to upgrade them when they came out on Kickstarter, and I was on a big Kickstarter rampage. Mine's finally almost ending. My last Kickstarter is going to be delivered in the next month or so.
Oh, wow.
Other than that, I don't have any board games kickstarted. So, but the second game I just played tonight, and that was Yokohama Duel. Now, this one, nice. I have a little story about how I got it. I know the last fall con we went to, they had an auction there, and they always have this one thing you can auction off. It's you basically just bid for the highest bid of money, and whoever bids the highest gets to go and pick one of the things up there.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't, of course, bid the highest. I wasn't anywhere near what the highest bid was for that. But this one of the guys, there's I think 2 winners, like the first and second place, and they got to pick. And so I think it was the second place anyway. He went and picked that, and I really had wanted to bid on it, but so he got it. And it's not like it's that expensive a game, but you can't find it. They're not, they don't bring it here. There's not in stock. They maybe is now, but anyway. So I had walked over and asked him. I said, "Oh, what would you sell it for?" I was just curious, and he's like, "Oh no, I won't sell it." So anyway, time went on, and we were at Gobfest this last spring, and a friend of mine there actually was selling it. We had setting up on the market, and I see the game over there, and I'm like, "Oh, well, how much you sell it for?" He said $20, and it was I'm like,
nice.
Okay, it must be the base game, like just the base version. Bring it home, take off. It had a sleeve, which that should have given me a clue. Open it up. It's the deluxe version. And that game, I think it's worth like $70 or $80 on Boardgame.
Wow.
So I don't know why he sold it for that, but Chris, if you're listening, thank you. I love it. Played it a couple times. And it's just a mini version of the big game Yokohama. You can play it literally in 45 minutes, maybe even quicker if we didn't have to kind of go over a bit of the rules, but it's very similar of how you play. You don't have to travel like you do in Yokohama. You just play your power, because you have power cards. So you start with a 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have to go in order of lower to highest. So on your turn, you would take the 1 and you would place it on one of the areas in Yokohama. And so you're collecting goods, getting money, you're getting technology cards, you are making kind of church donations, but it's a little bit different in the 2-player game. It's just cards that you get. You can do some trades, and you're trying to fulfill orders. And then once you do 3 orders, or you have 3 tech cards, then you get one of the agents, and those are just like a whole other turn. So you're basically just trying to turn over the biggest points possible in different ways, by either fulfilling orders that have big points, getting the little trade boxes, and which are different in the big game, where you use them to go to the church. Well, here you try to flip them over, and they're worth like triple the points. It's just such a neat game. And I don't know if you've played Yokohama. Have you played?
I haven't yet. No, I want to. No.
It's really good, but it is quite a big setup, and quite a bit longer. Like I would say at least 2-hour game, but this one you can play it really quick and you still feel like you've played the game. But I love it. What about you? What have you been playing?
Well, over the weekend I held my MelCon. So that's normally it's like a public game convention that I would host around my birthday. I did actually we have the same birthday. Mm-hmm. So our birthday is not for like another 7 days now. So it's a week away. So I did it a little bit earlier than I normally do, mainly because Drum is graduating at the end of the month. So, and then Father's Day is the weekend before that. And then, so I did it the weekend before that yet. So I had set up my basement. So my main room had the 2 rooms, the 2 tables. And then I had like 2 other tables set up just in case we needed it. It was I had made like goodie bags. And
cute.
Having the event at home, I think the challenge with that is there's limited space. Mm-hmm. Big benefit is I didn't have to pick which game to pack, and I didn't have to pack and move games. That was huge. But yeah, there is limited space. So I sent kind of invites to who I thought I could fit. And some could come, some couldn't come, some were maybes. So then I could extend the invite to like a few more people. But like until you hear the final who can come, who can't come, like you're kind of limited as to who you can invite, and then you can't invite everybody. So that was a bigger challenge, but it was great. We ended up playing. Yeah, because you had something going on that weekend, so you couldn't come, but it was fun. I think we were about 10 people that ended up. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it was good. And honestly, whether you have 1 person show up or 20 people show up, it's not like you can physically play any more games the more people, right?
No.
So it really makes no difference how many people come as long as somebody comes. But no, it was great.
Yeah.
We ended up playing a bunch of games. I had purchased some game that arrived this week, that weekend as well, and that we ended up playing that weekend. But I had one that I had purchased a while before. I had played it before and actually got to play it that weekend. That was Gugong. And we played Keith's copy, and it was all deluxe. So all the tiles, instead of being cardboard tiles, they were like little wooden tiles, and all the components were just so amazing, and it looked great. And he had like the new anniversary edition, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
And so it had a bunch of expansion. We ended up adding just the one expansion that kind of adds different track in the middle area. It's so good. I played it the one time, fell in love with it, found the game, bought the game, and it made my top 50, even though I had only played it like the one time. And I played it the second time, and oh yeah, it's still in the top 50, guaranteed. It's a worker placement game, but what's really unique is you have a set of card that you start with, and when you want to activate a location, you're going to play a card and replace a card that's already on the board because all of the action has a card there. Now, you need to play a card that is higher than the previous card. The previous card's going to go in your discard pile, and that's going to be your cards for the next round. And then you play the new card. Now, so you get to activate that action there and do that. And then if the card you play has an action on the card, you get to do the action on the card also. So the lower number tend to have actions. The higher number cards, because they're so powerful, aren't going to have an extra bonus action. Now, if you ever play a card that is lower than the previous card, then you're going to have to kind of scrap a card in order to do that, or to discard 2 workers. And the workers can be tight in this game as well. And it's like Chinese theme. You're building the Great Wall. You can go fishing. You can go across the countryside and travel with your horse. And then depending on what you land on, you get to activate. You're collecting jade. And there's all bunch of different things that will make it so you're collecting points. I kind of took the strategy of going up that. I think it's almost like you're trying to get as close to royalty as you can in the counseling or whatever. So I went up that track as quickly as I could. That's what I concentrated on doing. And kind of managed to get, because the first person to reach the palace area gets the most points. And then afterwards you get a little bit less points than that. Michael was playing, and he kind of took the route of collecting the most jade. And then the more jade, if you have 1, it's worth so much. If you have 2, it's worth more. If you have 3, it's worth even more. And it kind of exponentially grows from there. So he ended up passing me, but I think I was second place by 3 points. So it was a really tight game. But it's just so good. Just so good.
Such cool mechanics in that game.
It really is. So I'm glad we got to play it again. And that was Gugong. And then today, over the weekend at MelCon, I had purchased game for my friend Darren, who Bernie picked up for me and delivered at MelCon. So I had a couple of games show up at MelCon. And one of them was Railways of the World. Because I have played and really liked the card game version of this, which has more of like a Ticket to Ride feel. You're collecting cards and you're trying to get card of the same color so you can create routes to connect to cities of the same color. With Railways of the World, the board game, that you have the board. Now, the base game comes with the map of Mexico or the map of Eastern United States. But the copy that I bought secondhand, comes with 5 extra maps that all in shrink. Ooh. So I have Europe. Deal. I have a bunch of other maps. We just played the Eastern United States. It's nice to be able to pronounce the cities.
Yeah.
Whenever I play Europe, oh my god, I was like, I don't know how to pronounce this. So we got playing that one, and it was neat. Now, it was Lee's first time playing it, and this is not a game where you want to be polite and say, well, I'll stay on my side of the board, you stay on your side of the board. And I started on the East Coast, and all the cities were tight and close together, so I kind of got obvious lead right off the bat, while he had to get a lot more bonds. So, and that it caused, like I had 2 bonds, he had 7 at the end of the game. So, and bonds in the end counts as negative point because you don't start with any money. You have to get bonds to get money. But as you build link and deliver goods because you got cubes on each cities and you got to deliver the colored cube to a city that has that color, that's what they're accepting. So then you can kind of build a railway and then deliver the cube from like the red cube from this city into the city that accepts red goods, and then you go up 1 on the income track and so on. You got like cards that'll help. You got secret objective you're trying to accomplish as well. It was neat. I liked it. The map was massive. The Eastern United States, just a huge map, took the whole table. Very much like Ticket to Ride, but you build tracks wherever you want. There's no kind of color coordination kind of set up with it. So you have a little bit more control, but definitely we can't be as passive as we were playing. Like if Lee had built a track in the middle of everything I was doing, then every time I would deliver goods, if I had to go through his track, then he would get income as well. So we should have intermingled a little bit more, but it was neat. I loved it. The components are amazing. Like you get these big 3D like water tower and you put that on the board when a city is used up of goods, because the game ends in the 2-player game when 10 cities have no goods, then that triggers the end of the game. So you put all these big 3D things on the board to kind of showcase what's been used up. It was just, it's a drier game. Like it would be more of a Euro. It's not one that's, like has a lot of excitement. There's no legendary encounters, chest bursters coming out of your chest or anything. It's definitely more strategic and dry than that, but it was so good. I really enjoyed it. And we played that just tonight. Railways of the World.
Awesome. Would you say it's quite heavy or just slightly?
You know what? It was very simple to learn and play. Very simple to learn and play, to teach it as well. It's a very straightforward game. So on your turn, you can either build tracks, you can deliver goods, you can go get a card, or you can upgrade your locomotive so that you can deliver further. So the actions are very simple. So it's not a complex game, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot of strategies involved, right? And if you like in Lee's case, like kind of he went more on the West Coast. Well, I guess it would be more central U.S. But his cities were a lot more spread out, so it cost him a lot more money to build the tracks, while mine were like 1 or 2 spaces away. So I was able to grow faster for less money, so I had less bonds. And then for the rest of the game, you ended up having to try to catch up. So it's one of those games that says, like, if you do a mistake early on, you may never recover. So there's that to keep in mind.
The first
but
time
not,
you play, tricky compared to after. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And then we kind of played it too, like the East Coast was on my side of the table.
Yeah.
So I built right there because I could reach easy. Like I said, the map is massive, but it was so much fun. It was great. I took pictures. I posted them on my Facebook page, so be sure to go and check it out.
Awesome. Now I've noticed just from posts and stuff that you have that your shelf of shame is shrinking. It seems
right?
Like you're really getting some games off that shelf.
Well, I've been dealing with horrible allergies, and I've had an allergic reaction to who knows what. Honestly, I think I've got it figured out because I'm allergic to reactin. So the doctors have been saying, take Claritin, like take 4 times the amount of Claritin you're supposed to take. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. So we quit taking Claritin and it's getting better. So I think I'm also allergic to Claritin. Which the doctor's like, no, you're not. Because it's so extremely rare. So they just automatically rule it out. That's not it. But so it's been 2 weeks of being like itchy, and so I was like, okay, I'm feeling miserable, I'm gonna distract myself with games, and I just sat down playing games solo to learn them and get them off my shelf of shame. So but yeah, so blessing in disguise, I guess.
That's awesome.
All right,
Perfect.
so today we're doing 9 games better than Sorry. Now let's talk about Sorry. I don't know if I've ever played Sorry. I've played
Oh, really?
Trouble, which I think is
It's
very
very similar.
similar.
Yeah.
So I think the only difference is in Trouble you have the pop-up dice thing in the middle,
Yeah, and
but you're
cards and
going
Sorry.
around, so it's kind of a race because you're trying to get your
Mhm.
4 pieces into your
Yeah.
home area. But if another player lands on your piece, it sends you back into the start area. So that's how
Yeah.
Trouble plays. I'm assuming Sorry is similar.
Yeah, it's played with cards, at least the version I used to play.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember even like what your hand limit was, but I remember always picking up cards, playing and trying to get somewhere or trying to like land on somebody's. Because if you land on them, they would go home. I don't remember a whole lot. I did like it as a kid because it was, that race, heart pumping.
It's like a race take that game.
Yeah, race take that game.
Yeah.
Which technically I'm not a fan of, but at sometimes, some points in my life I am. And there is I do still like that race aspect. It's when I play games like that, my heart actually races and I'm just like, oh, I'm so close. I'm so close. Like, I need one more move and I'm going to do it. So I do enjoy that. But there's so much more better games now than Sorry, in my opinion. So
yeah, so yeah, definitely. How was it putting the list together for you?
It was when we first talked about it, because we kind of listed all the old basic games that we used to play. That one first, I thought of like 2 or 3 games. Then after I thought about it, they're not the exact same both mechanics, but to me they have a similar feeling.
Yeah.
Not all of them are race games on my list, but some of them are, they just feel like they could replace it, or someone who liked Sorry would like these games.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually quite easy for me. But what about you?
Yeah, I put my list together. Okay, some of them, and if it was because I did the list a little while ago, and I'm looking back at them, and I'm like, really, I put that on there? But I kind of went with take that element and then the race element, and some have combined both. Some is one or the other. So some are a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's get started. What is your number 9?
So my first one is actually neither of those mechanics, really, but it still has kind of a feel for me. When I played this game for the first time, it sort of made me think of that game. I'm not even sure why. And that we had kind of just talked about it, you talked about it a little bit. And so my number 9 is Ticket to Ride. And that's from Alan Moon, made in 2004. And I mean, there is a little bit of, you could build on a track that somebody totally needed. So, or you can kind of see them building tracks I should explain Ticket to Ride. You are just building up routes with your trains by using cards. So that's kind of the similarity too, is you have this hand of cards that you have to use in order to kind of move on the board. But so you also have some, cards that you have to fulfill, which is routes. So like a route from one end of the board to the other. But within that is a whole bunch of little tiny routes. So you need to get that whole complete route, and then you've completed that card and you'll get all those points. But you can see sometimes during the game, somebody's starts a route on one end and then on another end, and you can see them coming together. So they really need that middle spot there. And even if you don't need it, you might just build one there because you have the color cards that can build that actual route. And then they have to go around all the way, and it takes them longer to get there. So to me, it has a little bit of feel of that. Yeah. But some of the expansions in it, really, they change up the game so much. I have almost all of the expansions. And the reason I did have the base game for a long time, just when I started gaming. But then my family started to like it. And I'm like, of course, they like it? I'll get 20 of them. That's how my brain works, kind of. Yeah. 20 different things, because they'll like all 20 now. Well, they just like basically the base game. But there is some really good expansions in there. But I still feel like that gives me the feel of Sorry. And that's my number 9, Ticket to Ride. Nice.
Yeah, I can see that, I guess. Mostly, yeah, when you're kind of like, I built here before you could. And my number 9 is a game we've played so much. And I'm putting this one on the list because it has a lot of take that. And it also has a race element to it, and that's Gyrating Hamsters. That one was created in 2017. It's created by Andrew and Allison Gerbsch and Alex and Rebecca Host. And this is one like where the goal of the game is to get 16 hamsters in your horde, or 9 if they're all from the same clan. And all the hamsters will have like, there's very whimsical. The artwork is very comical. You know, like you have the hippie hamster, and you have the sushi chef hamster or whatever. So you have all these different kind of artwork that goes with it. If you get sets where they match, if you get 2 of a kind, some of them will have special abilities that allows you to draw an extra card or different things. If you get 3 of a kind, then it's harder for other people to take your hamsters away from you. And if you have all 4 of a kind, then you're kind of like they're secure for you. But you also have chaos cards that will come up from time to time that will just do a bunch of different things. Worst one is like the tornado, and it takes everybody's cards. So you could be, maybe you had built up to 10 and the other player had like 3 and 2. Well, it takes all the cards, shuffles them, and you redistribute them evenly. So then all of a sudden, all the cards you had worked on is like all spread out. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, it can be frustrating. This is one that Nick refuses to play. He will not play Gyrating Hamster. There's also like a duel element. At the end of the game, you could challenge another player for their hamster, but you got to put your hamster up against it. Then you roll dice, and whoever wins the dice roll would get all the hamsters. So you can kind of battle clan for clan, or one single hamster for one single hamster. So there's that. Like, the take that element on there is up there. And then when you kind of almost get to your horde and then somebody takes almost all of your hamsters, it has a frustration element that you see in Sorry when you're almost at the end and somebody sends you back to the beginning. It's like, oh, are you kidding? So, but it's such a neat card game. We've played this one so many times. And still to this day, it was like, "Hey, do you want to play this?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." So, and that's my number 9, Gyrating Hamsters.
Yeah, I still have yet to play this one. You talk about this quite often. All right, my number 8 is Downforce, made in 2017 by Rob Davio, Justin Jacobson, and Wolfgang Kramer. Now, this is definitely a race game, but in a different way, because you all have your own cars, but you don't necessarily lose if you don't win with your car. You, at the beginning of the game, you have auction off all these cars, and everybody will get at least 1 car, and depending on the player count, you might get 2 or more. You do have to pay for them, so that will come off your total points at the end. So it's not smart to just buy 4 cars and the other 2 people have 1. You kind of try to want to keep them evenly if possible. But you have this hand of cards, and that is how you move your car. So everybody on their turn will play 1 card. And on the top of the card, it'll have the colors listed with how much movement they can move, and they have to go in that specific order. So that's where the strategy kind of comes in, because as you on a normal track, there are only so many spots on the width of it. So sometimes you might pass somebody and then you totally block out. Like, there's some really narrow parts of the track where you're stuck and nobody behind you can move ahead of you until you move. So then you're forcing the other players to put your color first and move you first. And it's neat as well as there's, I think, 3 points in the game where you get to this line. When 1 car reaches it, you all place your bet of who's going to win. So you can get a lot of points that way, even not if you are betting on yourself. You bet on somebody else who wins, you can get lots of points that way. Of course, if you do bet on yourself and you do win, you do get tons. the race aspect of it is what reminds me of Story. And there is some take that because you can like literally block people, or as you're using your movement in your cards, you can make people not move at all because they are blocked by somebody else. It's such a neat game. It's one of these games that has been at our dollar store for $5.
Right.
Which, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. You got to get that game. It's a perfect family game. It's fun for gamers at the end of the night. It's just an all-around great game. And that's my number 8, Downforce.
Nice. I do like that one. My number 8 is Diamant, or also known as Incan Gold. That one was created in 2005. It's created by Bruno Fiducci and Alan Armoon. I didn't realize that Ticket to Ride guy also did this one. Now this,
Alan Moon?
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
So this one is great. Like it's kind of a push your luck. So you're camping and you go down into the jungle, and each round you'll add a tile and you decide whether you keep going or not. And the tiles are going to bring out different things, and sometimes they'll start bringing treasures. And as you all land on the treasure, it gets divided up between everybody. Now, anything that doesn't divide equally gets left behind. And at one point, you're going to decide, say, okay, I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to come back. And as you come back, you get to collect everything that got left behind. Unless somebody else comes back along with you, then you got to share with them. And if it doesn't share equally, it stays behind again. It has that kind of bit of a racy feel to it, although it's more push your luck. But if you keep going down in the jungle, and the same creature, like it could be a spider or a snake or whatever, kind of gets revealed too many times, then you get killed by it, and then you never make it out of the jungle. So you lose all the treasures you've been accumulating so far. So you want to make it out, but you're trying to kind of go in and get out at a time where you get to collect the back stuff too. And at the end of the game is whoever has collected the most gems is the winner. And the copy I have, you have like these little 3D little treasure things. I've seen one where they had like the lid. It was a treasure chest. Mine's just a treasure box. There's no lid, but you keep your gems in there. So when you collect them and you made it back to camp, you get to put them in there. So nobody gets to see really how many you've collected so far. It's like, well, she keeps going back, but I think she's collected quite a bit going back. And I don't know. It just, because you're trying to kind of sneak away from the group to collect more. So it feels like Take That, although it's not really Take That. But I just really enjoy this one. That's my number 8, Diamond.
Nice. My number 7 is Port Royale, and that was made in 2014 by Alexander Pfister. Now, this one is a race game. You're racing to, it's 10 or 12 points. I think it depends on player count. And how you do that is, it's just a push your luck game, basically, with the race aspect. You just will flip cards one at a time. And if you go over a certain amount, if you ever get the same color of boat that comes up, you bust. And nobody will get anything from that. But if you keep going and say you got 4 boats, and you get other things as well, you can collect all the money from those boats. You get to choose, depending how many boats you've flipped, different colored ones, that will be the amount of cards you can take from that pile. So say you took 2, you could take 2 boats with just have money on it, or you could buy some of the helpers that are there. Now the helpers are really good because they can let you choose an extra card every time. I think the governor does that. You can, one will let you pay cheaper for cards. There's symbols on some of the cards, what you need to complete these, I'm forgetting the name of the big cards. What are they called again? Expeditions.
Yes.
That you need to complete. Some are just have really big points on them, so that if you got enough of those helpers, then if you got to 10 or whatever, you just win the game automatically. The thing is, the other players can all buy from there as well. So after you are done, the next player can buy a card. They pay you the money because the cards are also used as coins. So they're multi-use, which is neat because you have to pay for the cards in the middle, and you have this big stack of coins, and then sometimes this tax card comes up and you have to, whoever has the most gets, I think they get rid of half of all their coins. So you might have saved up because you want to buy, like, I think there's a mistress. I can't remember what she does, but she's really cool. And then you lose all your coins. It's just neat. And it's a fun, like, racing game, but there's different cards in there too that, you know, okay, that person needs that for their expedition. They need 4 points. I can't let them buy that card. I'm going to automatically bust right now because I don't want them to be able to buy it. I can't afford it. So there's things like that that go on in the game. My husband took to this early on when we started gaming, and I introduced him to some of these. And he would have to, like, we'd play and I'd win. Okay, again. And then he'd win. Okay, best out of 3. Like, it was one of those where you just keep playing. But it gives me a little feel of story. And that's my number 7, Port Royale.
Nice. My number 7 is going to feel like a stretch. But hear me out. Because Sorry is a take that race game. This game technically has these elements to it, and that's Bob Ross' Art of Chill. And this one is created in 2017, and it was created by Prospero Hall. And, I mean, this game, like, okay, first of all, you look at the game, you look at the IP, it seems like it would be, no, like, just like, okay, it's all about the IP. Like, it doesn't expect like it's going to be as good as it really is, but it is. So what's neat is everybody gets a palette that you're going to put the paint on, and you're going to collect cards trying to get the proper colored paint so that you can create the elements in the Bob Ross painting. And you have this easel and you put the painting on it, and then there's so many different paintings that you can go through, and all of the cards with the paintings on it are double-sided, so you got like so many paintings, but each painting has, I think it's 4 different elements you can paint. So maybe it has like the mountains, maybe it has like the happy little tree, maybe it has a little lone cabin, or there's the different things that you can paint, and you're trying to get the element of the painting painted ahead of Bob Ross if you can, because you score more if you do it before Bob Ross does, because he's painting his painting as well. So I guess it's like you're watching Bob Ross and you're doing the painting at the same time. But if somebody finishes the last element of that painting goes away, it's done, and the new painting comes out, and you have a palette with paint on it that might not even match the new painting, and they've just kind of totally messed you up. So now you have to spend a whole turn to wipe off your palette so you can start again. And so it can have that, take that a little bit with that aspect of it. But it's just such a good game, and it's such a better game than it seems like it's going to be. And that whole trying to race and trying to get there ahead and then possibly mess up with the other players, kind of that you get in Sorry, you can get a little bit in this one as well. So that's why Bob Ross' Art of Chill is my number 7.
Nice. These mechanics sound so cool in this game. I'm going to have to try that one.
You haven't tried it yet? Oh my God,
right.
You need to.
Nope.
No, we need to get you to try this.
All right. My number 6 is Jamaica, made in 2007 by Malcolm Braff, Bruno Cathala, and Sebastian Pouchon. Now, this one is a race game again, but there is ways in here to, well, when you battle people, and then you could take their spot where that you kind of knew they were trying to go, because you were traveling around this island on the outside of it, and once you get to the first player to the end, I believe, is that the winning condition, or I think maybe you add points. No, I'm not sure. I think it's a race right to the end.
I think it's just, yeah,
everybody has a chance
race
to catch you, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's equal turns. So you have these cards, and you roll the dice, and one of them is your speed. So you choose a speed of a card, and one of them is your, now I'm blanking here. One's the speed, how fast you go, and one is the strength, I believe. Now I'm totally blanking on this. I haven't played in a while, but so you're going around and you can stop at different ports and you can collect things, or you can sometimes collect things, but if you don't have room on your boat, because you have these little slots,
Yeah, you have
to
much
throw
room.
some things overboard. When you battle, it's not all that bad, but you can take things from other people. So you might grab a card that is just 8 points or something, because you don't know what anybody has when they get their treasures. Some things could be really crappy cards, so you actually pulled a negative from them and did them a favor. So it's neat because you don't always know if you're doing good or bad to the person, but sometimes you just try to get as much treasure as you can, of course. And battle is quite fun because it's just dice roll, basically. Whoever has the most power. You can use gunpowder that you will gather up into your boat. It's just a neat little race game, but beautiful components. And you have the newer version, so I think it's even prettier. But yeah, that's
and it plays
6,
quick.
Jamaica.
It's simple and quick to play.
It's a fast game.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. And you can play with kids. It's kind of an all age you could play with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's my number 6.
My number 6 is by far the oldest game in my list. It's probably the oldest game I've owned. Not necessarily that the version I have is old, although mine is, but when it was created, it was a long time ago. And that's Crokinole, and created in 1876. I don't know how they know the date specifically, but this is a Canadian created game as well. And it's a big wooden circle that has the outer circle, the inner circle, and then you got another one, and then there's little pegs or screws sticking out, bumpers basically, and then inside of that there's a little hole. And each location scores differently, and you have these little wooden discs and you flick them. So when there's nothing on the board, you're trying to flick yours as close to the hole as you can, and you're trying to get it in there. If it flicks or hits the bumper and kind of goes out and there's nothing else on the board, it just gets discarded. You got to be in the inner circle. If there's other Crokinole discs on the from the other team on the board, then you have to hit one of theirs in order for your shot to be legal. So this have to be a take that game. You have to. So, but you get your disc so close, and it's all in there, and you have all these points, and then the other player flicks theirs and it hits 3 of yours, and it spreads you out, and then all of a sudden you had 3 inside, now you have none, and they have 2, and it's what? And this is such an exciting game, and you'll get your really good shots, and it's and you get so excited, and then you get these stupid shots. It's I wasn't even aiming there. How did it go there? Or you're okay, I need to get between these 2 bumpers, and you will hit the bumper each and every time. I have never beat Lee at this game. When it's me and him playing, he beats me all the time. But you can technically play this multiplayer, and if we play more than 2 players, Lee can't win. There's something going on.
Teams then, right? 2v2?
No, well, I guess you could play teams. We've been playing all individuals. So I have 4 different colored discs, and then everybody for themselves.
Nice.
But it's a neat one. Now, this is a pain to store because it doesn't fold. It's a big wooden circle that you got to bring out and put on the table. So it's going to be tucked somewhere. That just gonna stick out. I've seen some people where they had it mounted on the wall. If you're gonna have a really nice board, and mine was a yard sale fine for $15, 100% worth the price. It's older. I want to say it was built in the 80s, maybe. So it's. Yeah. But if you buy one now, they are super shiny, gorgeous wood finish. But you're looking at $200 to $300 easy. But it's, oh my God, it's worth it. And I think a lot of people grew up playing this. I didn't. I played this for the first time this year, and I just love it. So that's my number 6, Crokinole.
Well, my number 5 is Crokinole.
Oh,
Yeah. And just like you said, like literally you do kick them home because if you get it in the hole, all their things are gone off the board. So it's neat. And I always feel like I need kind of some warm up to it.
Yeah.
I need to like get the like texture or the feel of my flick because at first, you're just they're flying off the board or they're going here and then you finally kind of get the feel of it. And so I don't know.
It's good.
Just so fun. And it's
its simplicity, yeah.
Yeah. But it's awesome. Yeah, that's my number 5.
That's
First
funny.
crossover.
My number 5 is Camel Up. This one was created originally in 2014 by Stephen Bourgain. I have the second edition one, which the pyramid that holds the dice is plastic now. There's no like little rubber band mechanism to it. This is a race game. It is a race game and you're bidding, but you're not bidding to be the winner because you don't own any of the camels. You're just a spectator and you're bidding on the camels and you're trying to bid correctly. So you would bid on each leg of the race, but then for the ultimate race as well. And the sooner you put your bid in for the ultimate race is like, okay, yellow's in the lead. I think yellow's going to win. I'm going to put my bid that yellow wins. If you're the first one to bid that yellow's going to win and you're correct, it's worth that much more points. If you're wrong, it's going to be negative points. So, and it can change this so quick. So you have all the dice in the pyramid, you shake it, then you push a button and a dice comes out the bottom and it'll be a colored dice. So that matching camel is going to move forward that many spaces. And I think it can go like 1, 2, up to 3 spaces. And it would move forward. Now, the trick thing is they all stack on top of each other. So if a camel lands on the same place as another, it sits on top of it. And if yellow gets moving by 2 spaces, but red and green were on top of them, they are going to be moving ahead of them, along with them, because he's carrying them. They're sitting on his back. And then you have this black and white camel that are the crazy camel, and they're going backwards on the track. So they're just like loose camels that are in the middle of the race. And if your camel or a camel ever lands on one of those and then that one moves, then it's going to move the camel backwards as well, which kind of can totally change up the race. It's a very straightforward, very simple game to play, I guess, like because you're just bidding. It's quick. It plays really quick. The copy I have too is gorgeous because you open the board and you have this big 3D pop-up oasis that's part of the board. And it's just a neat, fun racing game. So that's my number 5, Camel Up.
Yeah, it's a fun one. All right, my number 4 is Longshot the Dice Game made in 2022 by Chris Handy. Now, this one is definitely a race game, but not necessarily, kind of like has that similarity to Camel Up where you don't have to own the horse to win the game. It helps a lot, but you can own horses in this one.
Yeah.
But the neat thing is you can also, when you see who's betting on what horse, you can use actions to move some of the horses back like 3 spots. So that's a lot in this game because you're moving around this track and then there's a point near the end of the track. Once it passes there, you can't bet on those horses anymore. So you could bet on other horses. You can do some other things on there, but you can't bet on them anymore. So from that point to the end, you never know what will happen because they can be moved back. And then you could rebet on them again. The dice is rolled at the beginning of each turn, and one of the dice is how many the horses will move, and then the one dice is the number of the horse that it will move. And so you have all different actions that you can do once that happens. You can, there's a little grid. Now I'm forgetting what that's called. Is that the concession? I think it's called.
Maybe, yeah.
Where you can
It's
mark
like
off your X's.
Bingo area kind of thing. Is it?
Yeah. So you could do that. And once you get like a full line, then you get these really cool bonuses on the bottom. Well, one of them is to buy a horse. Buying a horse is really neat because First, you will own that horse, but the second is that you have these little other horses on there that will move once that horse moves, because it'll show, like, say the red horse moves, then this one also, like, even if it moves 3, you're going to get to move that one as well. So you can place bets on both those horses. That's another action, is to place a bet on a horse. You have to pay money. We start out with some money. There's ways of getting more money on that little concession grid thing. You can buy helmets for horses or jerseys. And if you combo those together, you can get big points at the end. It's just a neat little, and it's a roll and write. It doesn't feel like a roll and write. It feels just like a betting racing game, but it's so fun. I've only played with the most 3 people. I would love to play this with a lot of people and just see how it would go. But it's a really cool little racing game, and that's my number 4, Long Shot the Dice Game.
Nice. Yeah, no, that one is good. I played it the first time at MelCon last year, and we played it 2 times in a row, and it was one of those, like, what? This was good. Let's do it again. So it was great.
It can be fast, like, depending how fast that horse goes, or it can take a little while, but it can be quite different.
Yeah, for us, the first time was fast. All right, my number 4 is a crossover. And that is Downforce, created in 2017 by Rob Davio, Justin Jacobson, and Wolfgang Kramer. And this one is just so fun, and it's neat. It's definitely a racing game, but take that as a huge aspect of it, because the whole point of the game is you're going to try to squeeze them so they can't go forward. Or you'll play cards where it's like, okay, well, this one moves black by 6, but you only have space to move by 1. Oh, wow, that's too bad. And, so it definitely has that feel. But it's so satisfying to play. It's so good. That's my number 4, Downforce.
Yeah, it's a good game. All right, my number 3 is Can't Stop, made in 1980 by Sid Saxon. Now, this game might even be older than Sorry. I'm not even sure how old Sorry is. Do you know?
I never checked, no.
Yeah, I'll look it up after. So this one, when we were at your place a couple weeks ago, we had a game day. Near the end of the day, I was like, we have to play a game of this. Because I don't have the actual game. I made my own version of it, because it's quite a simple game you could just make out of dice and cards or whatever. But so this game, all you are doing is rolling 4 dice, I believe. Is it 4 or 5?
It's 2.
It's 4. And you combo... No, because you can combo.
Oh, right, because you got 4 because you match them up, right. But it's always a combo of 2 dice. So then
you take... Yeah, you have to add up 2 of the dice. So say I took a 4 and a 3 and a 2 and a 6. So I'd take a 7 and an 8. So then I put my little markers on the 7 and the 8, and I'm trying to just move up these tracks. Trying to get to the end of those tracks so nobody else can have them. I need to get to the end of 3 tracks and I win the game. So I could put my markers on there, and you have 3 markers each round. So, or I could choose to just put them on one of them for now. You just have to be able to move 1 up each time you roll. Then I continue rolling. Once I have 3 markers on the board, if I roll again and don't roll any of those numbers, I bust and all those go away. If I were to stay, then I take my permanent markers and put them on the board, and they will stay in those spots, and I can never move down from them. So I'm like, those are safe. But I tend to push my luck a lot in these, because I think I just got to get to the end of this one and then I'll stop. And that day I was quite lucky. I think I got up on a couple of them really quick.
Yeah.
But then you have these outside ones, which is neat, because the 7 track is the longest, because it's the most rolled. And then the 8 or the 6 and the 8 kind of are a little bit shorter, and then 5 and 9. And then you go to the 2 and the 12, and you only have to move up twice, I think, on those.
2 or 3 times. Like, it's very short.
Yeah. But you never roll that, usually, right? So it's kind of fun to maybe try it one time, and you're like, I only need 1 more roll, and I'm up on that track.
I could do it.
It's such a simple concept game, but so fun, and I just love this one, and that's Can't Stop, my number 3.
Yeah, that one's good. And it is so frustrating when somebody's like, okay, I'm getting so good on this track, and somebody completes it, so your marker just goes away.
Yeah.
It's definitely has that sorry feel. My number 3 is Formula Motor Racing, which was created in 1995 by Rainer Knizia. And this one is neat. And it plays up to a high player count. I think it plays up to 6. So me and all the kids and Lee will play this one every once in a while. And the kids actually enjoy this one. And everybody gets 2 formula racing cars. And you put them all in a row in front of you. And then you kind of will flip a card one at a time. So the first card to be flipped is going to be the 2 cards in the middle. And then the next card is going to be one in front, one behind. And then like the last card pull is going to be both first place and last place. And then you have cards, and you're going to be playing the cards, and the cards are going to have different things like, okay, purple moves by 2, and whichever car is behind it will drift along with it and move by 2 as well. So maybe you're not purple, but you're yellow and you're right behind purple. So I'll go ahead and move purple by 2 because it's going to take my yellow car, move it forward as well. So you're just moving this, like the position of the cars in this row as you're racing. You never really move the cars around a track. Like you're not racing on the track. You're just changing position within this race until you play the last card, and then the race is over and your position shows what you got. And you're going to be racing a few races, and depending on how you land, first player is going to get the most points. Second place is going to get points, third place as well, and so on until it becomes less points. But it's so neat where you'll be using cars to kind of, okay, I'm helping you, but it's going to help me as well, so it's okay. But then you'll be playing cars where it's like, oh, you got to go and do a pit stop. So I'm forcing you to go on a pit stop. But you roll the dice to see, and then if you roll a certain way, either you have to go on a pit stop and it makes you lose 3 position or whatever, or, oh, no, I'm fine, I'm not going on a pit stop because I rolled the way I needed to in order not to do that. And you can have car crash out of the race, and then it's like, okay, you crashed, so you're guaranteed last position because you're crashed out of the race. You still have the other car that you're trying to, but it's like, I can't believe you just did that to me. But it is so neat, so satisfying. This game is so simple. And it's neat to have a racing game where there's no track. You're just changing position, but it does have that race feel to it. It's so good. That's my number 3, Formula Motor Racing.
Awesome. All right, my number 2 is Survive Escape from Atlantis. And this is made in 1982 by Julian Cortland Smith. Now this one, it really, really does feel like story, only a little bit more complicated and with really cool components. You are on this island, and you start by setting up the board where everybody gets to place their meeples on this island on different tiles. And there's 3 different types of tiles. I can't remember, like, I think one's like mountain, one's like sand, and I can't remember what the other one is, but they get thicker. Like the mountain one, I think, is the thickest, and it's the closest to the middle. So everybody wants to be on those, and then the next one, and then the next one's even thinner. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to the corners of the board. Those are the land. Like, so you're trying to get from this island that is like sinking and falling apart to the land in the corners. And how you do that is you have these boats that are placed. You also get to place boats after you place your meeples around the board. And then you're going to jump onto those boats and then move the boats onto the island and get off the boat onto the land. Sorry, not the island. But the thing is, other people can be in your boats. So as long as you're in it, you can control it and move it. Things can happen that come up where, because you roll dice, and some sea creatures can move around or pop up, and a shark could be there and could, if you're in a boat, you're okay. But if you're swimming and a whale has, say, eaten your boat already, and a shark lands in your spot, while you're dead. So you're really trying to get to the land, but also trying to kill all the other people so that they can't get there. Because each of your meeples, I think you have like 6 or 8 of them. They all have different numbers on the bottom of them. And the higher numbers you want for sure to survive, because those are your points at the end of the game. All your people that have made it to the land, you flip them over at the end and you add up those points, and that's it. Sometimes you will end up with no points. Everybody's out to kill you, and they will do whatever they can to not let you get to land. But then as they're doing that, they're not paying attention to somebody else who's making all their people to land. So it's just fun, and it definitely is. It can be a kingmaker game where you can gang up on people. You can team up and work together until the end and then kind of gang up on each other. These tiles will slowly come off the board, and once it gets to like a few of them, this volcano tile will flip and everything will blow up and end, and then you will just count your points. There's a little bit more to it than that, just because some of the tiles will flip over and give you like a player power for next turn, or will give you something, but just minor things. But it's just neat, and it's a really cool little setup that was made back then. I have a anniversary edition, but really it was still only made in 2012, I think, because if this was 82, that would have been I think it's the 30th anniversary I have. But it's such a fun take that race game. I mean, you're not really racing, but you are trying to get to the end. But definitely a take that game, and that's my number 2. Survive Escape from Atlantis.
Nice. I've never played that one yet. So
Really?
I hear you talk
I'll have to bring
about
that
it.
to a game day.
Yeah.
You would like it.
My number
Your family, I
2.
think, would like it.
My number 2 is Tiny Epic Galaxy, which was created in 2015 by Scott Alms. With this one, you have like so many planets out, and you can send your ships onto the planet to activate the ability of the planet, or you can orbit the planet. And as you orbit the planet, you're going to need to roll the dice and activate that particular dice so that you can move forward. And each planet has like a different designated symbol. So if you roll that symbol, then you can kind of go further around. The planets are worth different points. And then once you complete your orbit around the planet, depending on the size of the planet, how far you have to go, then you get to add that card into your abilities that you can activate. So what's neat with this one is like maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to send my ship trying to orbit around this planet so I can get this. And then somebody else does and start orbiting as well, because just because I'm orbiting doesn't mean they can't. And then maybe they roll that symbol more, and then they end up getting the planet away from me. So my ship just comes back to me completely useless, having done absolutely nothing. It is just like, oh, I was really trying to get that one. That would have been a lot of points, or, so it has that race where you're trying to get orbiting the planet the fastest, I guess. You could always have the one person be like, yeah, I see you guys racing for this. I'm just going to land on the planet and do the thing right now, and kind of bypass the whole race aspect of it and just activate the ability right then and there. It is just a neat, satisfying game to play. And then following all the Tiny Epic games, like you have the actions that you can do, and you kind of keep score of what you've got resource-wise with the cubes. So you have 1 cube of each, but depending on how far it goes around your board, how much of it you have. And somebody can do an action, and if you have enough of a certain resource, you could spend it to mimic the action as well for yourself. It's just satisfying. It's a neat race to try to get the orbit and collect the planet. You also try to upgrade your players so that you get more ships you can send out, and you get more dice you can roll. That gives you more things you can kind of try to activate. So that's my number 2, Tiny Epic Galaxy.
I haven't played this in so long.
Right.
I need to get it back to the table. Such a good game. Yeah, it's awesome. Good choice. All right, my number 1. This one was the first game I thought when I thought of games better than Sorry. This is Istanbul, made in 2014 by Rudiger Dorn. I do have the dice version of this, which is similar, but I feel like the main game gives me the same kind of feeling of Take That or racing. You are racing to get 10 rubies, and how you do that is the board is made up of these cards, these thick cards that you can move around. You can put them the way the game suggests, or you can just set them around however you want, and they just go in a grid, and depending how many expansions you have or whatever, the grid will get bigger and bigger. you have these workers and a main worker, and when you move, you have to drop one of them off at that place. And wherever you land is what the action you're going to do. But you have to have a helper there or you won't be able to do the action. The actions are just getting goods, getting bonus cards, gaining money, or collecting a ruby by either paying goods or money or doing certain things. The neat thing is you have this little, I think it's called a nephew, that can jump from the board like to another side and do something for you. But if somebody catches him, they send him to jail.
Oh boy.
So it's different things like that. But it's all you're trying to do is figure out the most efficient way to get these rubies. And there's so many ways to go about it that you might fail to pay attention to the other people, which I've done before. I was sitting there all smug thinking I'm 2 moves away. I'm just sitting back in my chair waiting for them to just do your turn because I'm just going to win this game. And right before my last turn, Ashley pulled out a win and got her rubies. And I was like, what? I didn't even think you were close. But my heart's racing the whole time I play this game. And it's so fun. And the mechanics are so good. And I waited so long to buy this game. I'd heard stuff about it, but everyone had said it's so much like Yokohama that you don't need both. I don't feel like it is at all. The only similarity to me is that you're dropping off assistance on the way. That's the only similarity to me, and maybe that you're building the game board out of the cards, but it doesn't feel like anything else the same. But that is my number one. Everyone should try this game. It's so fun, and that's Istanbul.
Nice. I've played the dice game version once with Lily. I've bought the board game version, but I haven't played it yet. So I still need to get that to the table. My number one is Bloodrage, which was created in 2015 by Eric M. Lang. And this one here is mostly the aspect of you're putting all these characters or your workers on the board and you're controlling different area. And then at one point you could be like, okay, I'm going to battle this city or raid the city so that I can get the benefit of what it's holding. And then, because in Sorry, you can't, like, they mess with you by jumping on your space and wrecking your thing. And then when you decide you're going to do that, then anybody who's in the surrounding area is like, yeah, I'm going to come in here and try to correct this battle for you. Because if they win the battle, they don't get to activate the village. They don't get the action or the resource of what you're trying to collect, but you don't. It's just completely, I'm just trying to battle to mess with you so you don't get it. I don't get it, but I don't want you to get it. So it is kind of like a straight take that portion that is part of the game. You do get glory for winning battles. So you do get that kind of bragging rights for it. But this is such a neat game. So it's definitely area control. And you're trying to control these areas. The more people you put in, like you could force somebody or kind of control an area just because you've taken up all this space and nobody else can come in. But there's so many different ways of winning because it's card drafting as well. So depending on the cards that you've collected, what your goals are going to be, it could be that, having the most people die in Valhalla is what gives you the most points. So you're trying to die. And I did that one time. I was playing the first time. I was like, okay, great. If all these guys die, then I'm going to get all these points. It's going to be amazing. But I won. I was too powerful. I was like, man, I needed to die. So it is such a neat game. I like this game a lot. And that's my number one, Bloodrage.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely a take that.
It can have that element for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, so those were our top 9 better than Sorry. If you think we've missed one, be like, wow, how come this one didn't? Do comment. We're interested to hear sure. What else other people thought would be other games that would kind of be better suited to play instead of Sorry. Now next episode, we're planning on doing our top 9 games that plays under 15 minutes. So just for those quick game, like you can kind of fit in anywhere. We're also hoping to have a special guest at one point, and depending on scheduling, when we'll fit that special guest in. So I'm not going to say any more on that just in case it doesn't happen or when it ends up happening. So we'll leave that loose for now. But before we call it quits for today, Carla, where can we find you?
I'm at Instagram, boardgamespecialist, all one word, and Facebook, you can go onto my page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. What about you?
So first of all, we also have a Discord channel. Be sure to join us on there. We'll have the link below. And lots of conversation happens there, so that's been great. My Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. My Instagram is Mel's_boardgame_room. And my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next one.
Bye for now.